Okay guys, last video for the Lenten Services series. This video is going to be all about Great Compline and Akathist services. Mind blown. I literally was like laughing the entire time, like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So you're gonna definitely want to listen to this video.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. I see you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eyes. Every part of you wants to surrender, but darling, you were meant to survive with every start.
Hey guys, so welcome back. So on this episode, we're going to be talking about Great Compline and Akathist services, and this will be the last of this series, and then hopefully next time we'll be able to do some Holy Week services. So jumping right in, we're going to talk about Great Compline and what they are.
You know, Great Compline is not necessarily a service of the Lenten season. It just happens to be a service that we, the faithful, in our normal parish setting, don't typically participate in. It's a service of the daily office. So if you go to a monastery or a large parish that has several priests, in your typical parish, you know, like here at St. Spiridon's, we were fortunate just to add a second priest recently. But even still, it's a very busy parish. There's a lot going on. And the daily office, meaning Vespers, Compline, midnight office, matins or orthros, hours, liturgy, that takes a full-time set of priests to accomplish. And in a monastery, they can. You know, their focus is not on things of the world, and they're not really interfered by things of the world, and they've really cloistered themselves and focused on prayer. So if you go to a monastery, every evening after dinner, so you have Vespers and dinner, and right after dinner is Compline. And the Greek for Compline is apothipnon, which means after dinner. So it's the prayer service after dinner. Oh. Yeah. We call it Great Compline because there is the service of the small Compline, and that the faithful often do participate in. It's actually part of the small Compline makes up, like services, Akathist services have a small Compline in them. But the Great Compline is a little bit larger and incorporates some additional psalms and prayers. And in Lent, we also add in some special hymns, like Let My Prayer Arise, like incense, or
my favorite.
And we also add in some singing of the psalms. We add in the hymn. It's escaping right now. I was just talking about this with my spiritual father recently. I'll come back to it. But this Great Compline that we serve in Lent is part of the daily office, and then it's been expanded. Majority of the prayers in the Compline service are psalms. You know, it's mostly psalms with a few key additional prayers, like the prayer of Manasseh, where we kneel, the prayer of Saint Ephraim, you know, where we kneel and make our prostrations. As a priest, it's my favorite service in Lent because it's the least. The priest has to do the least amount in that service. He just prays. He doesn't have a lot to do liturgically, so I can focus more.
We kneel the most, or prostrate the most.
There's a lot of prostration, especially at the first and last week when you add in the canon of St. Andrew. So again, it's a part of the daily office in Lent. You know, it's traditional for parishes to bring that part of the daily office back. It's usually celebrated on Monday evenings or Monday late in the afternoon, like we do here in our parish. A lovely service, very participatory in the sense of things you do physically, things you do spiritually, you know, in your prayer. Often you read the Psalms around and things like that. And a short service, really. For Lenten services, it's under an hour. That's short, right? The Akathist. Now, the Akathist is not even a service of Lent.
See, I'm learning so much stuff here.
Most people don't know that, but here's why I'm going to say this. You're going to go, oh, duh. The priest doesn't wear purple or black at the Akathist. He wears blue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's blue the color of?
I don't know.
The Virgin Mary. You know that. That's the color of Mary.
Yes.
So in any feast of Mary, we wear blue. The censer, usually at a Lenten service, we use a censer without bells.
Mm-hmm.
At the Akathist, we use bells. Usually the hymns of the Lenten season are somber and usually in a minor tone. Not so in the Akathist. They're a major tone, they're joyful. So it's a completely different character, right? And then what's the focal point of the service? Really, it's a contemplation of the Annunciation. So here's why we associate with Lent. The Annunciation of the Archangel Gabriel to Mary occurs on March 25th. That's a great feast of the Church, one of the 12 great feasts. The Akathist services are in preparation for the Feast of the Annunciation. And so their whole point is to reflect upon that mystery. Now, the timing happens to be that they fall in Lent. And one of the exceptions to a pre-sanctified only rule in Lent is the Annunciation. We do celebrate a full liturgy at the Feast of the Annunciation, and we get rid of the fast. We're allowed wine and fish and oil because it's a celebration. How could you not celebrate the day that our salvation was announced by Gabriel to Mary? So it's really a service that is about the 25th of March. When Lent is late, like it is this year, and there's 5 Akathists, we celebrate the Akathists past the feast because what the Church did in her wisdom, don't ask Father Evan why, per se, is we said that's a service I think what had happened was it was traditionally celebrated on Fridays. And because we know that possibly the date can move, forward or backward, we assign them to the 5 Fridays of Lent. And so that way, if Lent is late, then you might celebrate a couple of those like we will this year. It'll just be, I think, 1 Akathist before we celebrate the Annunciation, and the rest will be in April, after the feast. But since time in the Church is a fluid thing, that's okay. We can think about the Annunciation post the feast and still be in the moment of the feast. But typically, you would do that pre-feast. So that's where the Akathist comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I'm glad I decided.
Yeah, and sometimes people get confused by that name. Akathist simply means not to sit. So it's a service where we don't sit. But most Greeks would have called the service heretismi, which means the poor English translation, kind of the salutations. Because the main event in that service is when the priest comes out before the icon of Christ and then says, "Hail," and then there's a series of poetic verses that they say in front of the icon of Mary, lauding and reflecting on that mystery of God becoming a human being, and Mary saying yes to this audacious and crazy plan.
Right. Okay. That's amazing. Man, I should meet with you more often. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I hope you guys all enjoyed learning about all the wonderful services that are for Lent and clearly not for Lent. And if you guys have any questions, put them in the comment boxes below and I'll try to get them answered for you. Hope you guys all have a great day. Bye.